I have been financially not doing great.
At the time I thought it was smart. Now I realise it's not that good of a idea.
Last year, the average consumer made nearly 10 impulse buys per month, spending an average of $28.90 per purchase. That adds up to almost $300 a month of impulse buying, and it means every year you end up with $3,600 less in your bank account because of unplanned last-minute shopping for things that you probably don't actually need. Not even that, things that you might actively regret having in the first place because all they do is take up space in your closet or kitchen.
Sometimes, I rationalize, my needs, my wants to make them seem like their needs, and I just need to get out of this toxic, mindset.
Impulse buying is a huge problem nowadays. We are living in a world of quick dopamine, bad coping mechanisms, constant advertisements, and a hedonic treadmill that makes us feel like we never quite have enough. Like there's always one more thing we could buy to become truly happy. But the secret that companies don't want you to know is that impulsively buying that iPad or that designer handbag is not going to make you happy, not in the long run. In the long run, it could actually do the very opposite by draining your finances and outsourcing your happiness to the external rather than the internal. And that is ultimately a place where you forfeit control of your life. The same thing happens financially. Our addiction to impulse buying is keeping us poor. Yes, it obviously makes us spend frivolously on things we'll forget about or regret, but the part we usually forget about is that we miss out on things when we impulse buy. Every dollar we throw to an impulse purchase is a dollar that cannot go somewhere more important, to something like a house down payment, a flight to our dream destination, our retirement savings, our kids' college fund. Whatever goal you have for yourself is made just a little harder to reach every time you impulse buy something. Just think about what would happen if we were to invest the $300 a month the average person spends on impulse buying instead of spending recklessly. In scenario one, you're an impulse buyer and you keep that up for 25 years. By then, you have a museum full of trendy items you found on Amazon every Thursday night when you were bored sitting at home online shopping. You got Labubus, you got 20 different earphones, some futuristic hologram dog that you saw on TikTok Shop. All of it is just piles of junk now. Even if you tried selling your stuff, you probably wouldn't get much for it. But in scenario two, you invest in your future. You take control of your financial life by putting that $300 a month into the S&P 500. And if it continues its historic 10% annual average, you will end up with an inflation-adjusted $227,000, a little more than that. And that is money, yes, and it's opportunity. In this video, I'm going to talk about different aspects of impulse buying, like the psychology behind why we impulse buy, how the world makes it harder and harder to resist impulse buying, and some tips on how to fight back. But if you only get one thing from this video, please let it be this. If you can address your urge to impulse buy something, you will gain so much control over your financial life. It is going to be insane. That is going to be one of the biggest steps that you ever take in being able to achieve your financial life goals. Because impulse buying is emotional. It's something we do to self-soothe and distract, meaning it basically overrides our logical brains that might tell us, you don't really need this thing, we don't need to buy it. But I think what helps is when we think about the person that we want to be one day. My bet is if you're watching this video, you want to be an intentional person who lives life proactively, not reactively. You want to set goals for yourself. You have a vision for how you want to live. But the more that you let impulse spending control you, the harder it is going to be that version of yourself. So whenever you fall down the impulse spending rabbit hole, maybe you've had a long day or you passed a store that's just screaming your name, keep that future version of yourself in mind, that version that you want to become. Speaking of creating goals and living proactively, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Strawberry.me, for being such an amazing tool for helping me move toward my goals this year. Strawberry.me, for those who don't know, is a platform that connects you with professional coaches. These are coaches that can help you with all those parts of your career that you want guidance on, but you don't know who to talk to. Things like how to ask for a promotion, how to navigate a career change, or for me, how to better run my business and stay sane in the process. There's even things that you wouldn't think of that are insanely helpful to have a coach for. So say you're about to go to a weekend networking event, these things always make you nervous, and you want to get the most out of this because everyone in your industry is going to be present. So you could work with your coach to create a game plan, how to approach people at these events, how to calm your nerves, how to create a networking cheat sheet after to help you follow up with all the contacts that you met. Coaching can be a game changer for your career or business, and Strawberry.me makes it so easy to find great coaches and reach goals together. To try Strawberry.me for yourself, you can go to strawberry.me/Cara Cara, C-A-R-A, to take their quick quiz and get matched with a certified coach. Click the link down below or scan the QR code on screen. And thank you so much to strawberry.me for sponsoring today's video.
This is hands down the coolest invention, the innovation of our time.
What makes it so amazing?
To take you into the mind of an impulse buyer, we don't ask those kinds of questions. If a cool chef says this is the greatest cooking innovation of our time, the only thing my brain can think is, thank God I'm hearing about this.
So let's break down what drives us to impulse buying, because in order to eventually stop ourselves from making those quick second expensive purchases on junk that we're never going to use, it helps to understand why we do it. The biggest reasons we can point to are emotional regulation and the dopamine loop. Let's break each of those down. Emotional regulation is basically the fact that we often use shopping as a coping mechanism. It's a way for us to distract ourselves and process negative emotions, stress, grief, anxiety, fear, all of those that make our body uncomfortable. And if we want to get deep into the physiology, there's a part of your brain called the amygdala. If you've ever taken a psych class, you've probably heard of this little guy. It's a part of your brain that's responsible for processing emotions, especially fear and anxiety.
Listen up, people! I have anxiety!
So what happens is, say that you're going through a breakup. You are sad and you are stressed out, so your amygdala is firing off. Suddenly, your body is screaming, fix this, make this discomfort stop, do something. Sometimes that ends up being you text your ex, because for a moment, it makes the discomfort go away, and I'm not judging, we've all been there. But other times, you might think to yourself, well, last time I shopped, it made me feel pretty good. At least for a moment, maybe I should do that. Or your brain, it might even think of all those pretty ads of hot, smiling people as they buy designer necklaces. And so you think, I want to be a hot, smiling person. That sounds nicer than how I feel right now. Maybe I'll buy an overpriced designer necklace. See what I mean? You see how our brains jump to impulse spending as a way to soothe ourselves from discomfort?
I've been struggling quite a bit the last couple of days with my mental health. Literally all I want to do is rot on the couch. But today I'm going to actually make an effort to take care of myself better mentally than just rotting away. So I made a little homemade matcha, put on a cute outfit, and I'm gonna go shopping.
There's this Vox article I found talking about pandemic era purchases that people really regretted, and there were a lot of them, which makes sense because the pandemic was an incredibly stressful, sad time for people. Impulse spending went way up during the pandemic, likely in part due to people shopping to cope. Anyways, one of the people they interviewed for the piece bought these viral Soleil bikes in 2020. He spent hundreds of dollars impulsively on these bikes because, quote, maybe a bike will be the answer to our happiness. And what happened? He took a couple pictures of it, never really used the bike, and now it just sits in his garage collecting dust. He even says in the article, quote, I hate looking at it because it's a reminder that we probably wasted a lot of money. I found this UK documentary from a few years ago about a woman who is a compulsive shopper. Just watch how her relationship with buying things shows up.
Shopping is my life. Like, I live to shop.
Capable of spending thousands in a single transaction.
I do feel as if it's out of my control. I might not want to buy, but I just buy it.
Later in the documentary, they mentioned that she makes about £2,000 a month, or $2,600 USD, and yet look at just a few of the items that she has in her closet.
This was 3,000. This was 1,600, and the wallet was about £700. These earrings are like £200 each, £220, £250.
Just those three bags together equal £5,300, over 2 months of her salary. And the rings, I didn't count exactly how many there were, but let's estimate there were 15 in her box. That's another £3,000, 115% of her monthly salary spent on just rings. And that's just a tiny portion of her closet that keeps growing every week as she impulse buys more items. Unfortunately, though unsurprisingly, this led Dipna to be in credit card debt.
I'm in about £7,500 debt.
Now you'd think, okay, if I'm in credit card debt and I keep going on £1,000 plus impulse shopping sprees, maybe I should cut back on the shopping, right? Maybe this isn't good for me. But here's a line Dipna says that is the crux of the issue.
I can't imagine there being absolutely no shopping. I don't know what I would do. What else would I do? If I didn't shop, what would I have to look forward to?
That last line made me pretty sad to hear. If I couldn't shop, what else would I have to look forward to? But it also helps us make some sense of why someone might impulsively buy things even when it is hurting them financially. Because when you don't have other parts of your life fulfilling you, you feel empty inside, and emptiness demands to be filled. Now you can fill it with things like close connections, hobbies, interests, a purpose that feels beyond yourself, but many, including this woman, use impulse shopping to feel fulfilled instead. And before the comments start, just know this is not only a problem for women. The data shows that men and women deal with impulsive shopping, though on average it differs what is being impulsively purchased. Worldwide, 57% of women have impulsively bought on clothes or shoes, while 49% of male consumers have impulsively purchased electronics. Whatever you impulse buy, the bottom line remains that using consumption to find fulfillment is like trying to get full off of eating junk food. Processed chips, sugary cookies, they taste amazing for the moment, but they don't last. There's no substance to them, so you end up hungry again in like half an hour. Same thing goes for impulse buying. You're gonna feel the dopamine in the moment you buy something, but then what? It's cheap dopamine and it fades quickly. And worse, now you're craving more dopamine, and so you go and you buy another thing, and now you are trapped in a dopamine loop.
TBH department store.
Honestly, there are a lot of parallels between impulse eating and impulse buying, from how we use both to regulate stress to how the industry designs the environments to make impulsivity feel inevitable. I mentioned earlier that it's getting harder and harder to resist impulse buying, and that's for many of the same reasons it's hard to resist impulse eating. One is simply access. It is so easy to buy something or eat something now. Before, for eating, we had to go hunt our own food or farm all day. We would spend the bulk of our activity every single day just seeking calories, but now you can have a whole month's worth of calories delivered to your front door in under an hour. Same thing goes for any kind of shopping. The second that you see something that interests you, whether it's a new phone, a new jacket, a new watch, you can buy it online within minutes. Or if you're out shopping in person, think about how frictionless something like Apple Pay makes your spending. This was actually a reason I didn't get Apple Pay set up for the longest time. Part of it was due to laziness, but I also felt like it separated us from the act of spending money. You don't feel the weight of buying something when all you have to do is tap your phone like a magic wand. Whereas if you pay in cash, it's like you have to really confront the fact that you are spending money right now, real money, not just some numbers on a screen. This is why I think that we all need to be introducing more friction into our lives, intentional friction, but friction nonetheless. I think our lives can suffer if we have too much convenience, too much quick access to everything we want in the moment. In other words, I think we'd all be happier, not to mention financially and physically healthier, with more delayed gratification. With that in mind, how do we get there? How do we resist the overwhelming desire to impulse buy our way through life? Here are 3 tips that I think are amazing for this. One is to figure out what your triggers are.
We all know we do stupid things when we're drunk. Like me, I bought tickets to go run a marathon tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. No training, 42 kilometers. What do you want?
Because when you impulse buy something, you have to think, what is leading up to that? Is it something like I'm stressed after work? Or is it usually I'm buying stuff when I'm bored on the weekend? Is it usually when you feel insecure after you've been scrolling on Instagram? Be aware of these feelings as they pop up, because they are the signals that you need to know in order to fix the problem. Because then you can name the feeling. When you open your Amazon cart to impulse buy something, you can instead tell yourself, no, I'm just feeling stressed or bored right now. What's something else I could do to process that energy out of me? And then you find things you can do instead, like going on a walk or working out, calling a friend, putting on your favorite movie, or just going to sleep. I bet half of our impulse buying would just disappear if we just slept when our bodies were tired. Okay, so that's the first tip. The second tip is a funky one that I found online, and that is basically take a picture with the thing that you really want. If you're out shopping in person and you come across some outfit you want to impulse buy, don't feel like you have to buy it. Sometimes taking a picture of the outfit and storing it in a photo album can scratch that itch of needing to acquire something. Same thing if you're trying to declutter and you're really struggling to let go of an item. Take a picture with it. We don't need to own everything that's special to us. We can capture its memory in a different kind of way. And lastly, give yourself a 48-hour rule on any non-essential purchases. This means you are not allowed to buy something in the moment. You have to put it back on the rack or in the save for later section of your online online cart and then wait a couple of days at the bare minimum before you go back to buy it. I do this all the time and it saves me so much money because that 48-hour window gives you the time to breathe, to self-regulate so that other emotions aren't influencing your purchasing, and it gives you time to decide, do I really want this or was I just bored? And you'll be surprised how often you don't actually want that thing. If you really want to challenge yourself, you can even do a no buy month where you don't buy anything non-essential for the entire month. This can help reset your habits more so that you aren't trapped in this impulse spending treadmill. But what do you think? Are there other tips or tricks that you use to resist impulse buying? And what are your thoughts on how impulse buying keeps us poor? Let me know your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this one, go watch my recent video on how influencers have a money problem. I think you'll really like that one. Thank you so much to my patrons on Patreon and those on Buy Me Coffee for supporting this channel. I appreciate you all, and I will see you next time. Bye.